Welcome to today's Wealth WOD. I want to talk to you today about the number one reason I believe that the majority of Australians are not financially wealthy, and the reason that the majority of Australians will never be financially wealthy. This rule, what you're going to learn today, will put you so far ahead of the majority of people if you apply it. Now, I've got a team of accountants that work for us full time, and the role they do is very important, so don't take it the wrong way what I'm going to say next, but I find a lot of people turn immediately to their accountant for financial advice. Firstly, the majority of accountants aren't licensed to give financial advice, and secondly, the majority of accountants are not financially independent themselves. So this always confused me as to why people, and I sort of understand it, there's numbers involved, so you straight away go across to your accountant and ask them what they think. The reality is, while accountants understand the rules I'm going to go through with you now, they don't apply it to general life, which is why they're not financially independent. So, I want to talk about assets and liabilities. So forget property, forget any type of investment until you understand this rule and you live by this rule in your day-to-day life. So most people think assets and liabilities, two different things. Yeah? I think of assets and liabilities as four very distinct and different things. And if you understand them as the four different things, and the actions you take when you think about spending money or taking on debt, you remember these four different distinct things, then you're going to be so far ahead of the game. This will make it very clear as to what you're supposed to do. So let's break assets and liabilities down. What a crap pen. Somewhat better. So, assets and liabilities. Assets can be broken into two very different areas. Appreciating assets and depreciating assets. Liabilities, likewise. So an appreciating asset obviously goes up in value. Depreciating asset goes down in value. Liabilities, break them into two areas. Beneficial liabilities and non-beneficial liabilities. So liabilities, debt, any type of debt. Now, it'll become apparent that there's more types of debt than just a house loan. So let's start thinking about assets when we're thinking about buying something. If we think about the family home, all right? So a lot of people say the family home is your biggest asset. Well, it is an asset, an appreciating asset, because it goes up in value. But the reality is, even if you have that single asset as your largest investment, if you buy it today and wait around 10 years and it's doubled in value, well, so is every other property in the market. So you're in no better position in my book. Yes, you'll have some usable equity there, but you haven't built your wealth any further. So your true wealth. So the family home is an asset. The definition of liabilities, a beneficial liability, is related to wealth creation. So the family home, not related to wealth creation, so home loan. An investment property. Most people would say an investment property is an appreciating asset, and looking at it wholly it is, but we need to break it into two very distinct different things. It has a land component and it has a building component. Now, once again, being an investment property, not your own home, you're able to depreciate the value of the home. So the ATO deems that over a 40-year lifespan, the home, theoretically, or the building will be worth nothing. It's the land that goes up in value. The building's only purpose is to provide rental income for the land's holding cost. This is what makes money, land. Alright, so once again, land. So that's an IP, investment property. The loan held against that, investment property loan, is obviously a beneficial liability related to wealth creation. So we do a lot of talks out at secondary school kids. We talk to kids about the way they're going to transition from this, mum and dad protected world into the big bad financial world out there. And understanding these rules, the decisions they make over these coming 5 years as they're transitioning to the real world will have a huge difference to what result financially they'll have when they hit 30. And if they're slightly set up by 30, then they're going to have a comfortable retirement. If they're not slightly set up by 30 and they've made mistakes along the way because they acquired depreciating assets using non-beneficial liabilities, so cars that depreciate in value and don't create money for you, phones, credit cards, all those sort of things. So we talk to kids about making choices, so pathways in life. So the choice to get a credit card or to get a debit card. The choice to, we talk about broader things, getting a car with a drunk driver or not. And we talk to them about the majority of Australians, because they don't understand these rules, work their entire life and get to retirement at whatever age it is, old age, and then they've basically got nothing. We talk to them about AFL players. AFL players we see, and most people look in at AFL players as if they're living their life in a fishbowl. You know, everyone looks in from the outside and judges how they go. A lot of people will deem AFL players to have short careers where they earn huge money, and they're like the kids. They're going from this financial world into the real world, and they go from having a huge income, not managing it very well, into the world where they've basically got nothing, and a lot of them have no major trade because a lot of them don't earn the big bucks. So the fact of it is, and what we explain to kids is, at least the AFL players, they followed their dreams. So along the way, if you're doing both following your dreams and making smart investment choices and smart decisions around finance based on assets and liabilities, you're going to position yourself better. So from a very young age, you need to understand and start building up that knowledge of what makes a good decision. So we talk to kids about mobile phones. Is a phone worth more or less when you walk out of the store? Obviously it's worth less. So your iPhone. Are the calls making you money or not? The phone bill is a debt, so it's a liability. Do the calls make money or not? Yeah. And usually at this stage, some smart kid calls out, or what if I'm calling a hot girl? But that's up there. So we start to talk about friends. Are their friends a good person? Are they an asset to them? Or are they a liability? Are they a loser? Are they dragging that kid down? The other side, and this happens with adults, sadly with adults as well. You start hanging around people just because you like them, but really they're not adding any it might be good to hang around them, but are they making you a better person by the personality traits they've got? If they're a real loser, they're probably scabbing money off you as well, so they're probably giving you a liability as well. So you can see that assets and liabilities apply to much more than, do I put my $100 in this column or that column? If you understand assets and liabilities truly and apply this to life, you'll have a much better outcome. It'll make it much clearer on those decisions you need to make. Store credit, credit cards. Guys, hope that helps.